Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask. Today's show, ladies and gentlemen, is What's My Legal Rights? School Injuries. We'll be right back. I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask. Today's show, ladies and gentlemen, is What's My Legal Rights? And it's about school injuries. We have attorney with us today, Dionne Webster-Cox. Glad to have you join us, Ms. Cox.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Now, we have a unique concept today to talk about school injuries because a lot of parents are having situations with schools and they're trying to find some way to know what to do in the interim if their child is hurt at school or if their child is even bullied at school. So before we get into that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your practice?
Oh, absolutely. Well, again, my name is Dionne Webster-Cox. I have my own law firm. It's called the Webster Law Office. We're located in Livonia, Michigan. I've been practicing for approximately 13 years. This is going into my 13th year. And my practice covers personal injury, covers some criminal defense, probate, and the focus that I've had recently where I've found that there's a need is for children who have been injured at school. And that's either through injured by an employee, a teacher, or another student.
Mm-hmm.
Bullying is very, very, very major right now.
Bullying seems to have taken a turn, whereas all of us who've ever been to school, from childhood all the way up to college or whatever, we have experienced some type of bullying. But I don't know if we called it that then or if it was that intense, because it seemed to be more intense now than ever.
Well, absolutely. So now you have to, so what a person has to understand or realize, is it just regular kid part of socialization?
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of it? Or is it truly a problem where the school needs to be notified, where documents need to be, where a parent needs to start documenting what is truly getting down to it? And how has that child been injured? Is there an injury?
But not all the time is the bullying associated with the injuries, because we have situations where children are left on the bus.
Right.
Children have been body slammed by instructors.
Absolutely.
Okay. Children have had incidents in the pools.
That's right.
Okay. So now tell us a little bit about, if you had to resolve any of those type of issues, what would be the first thing a parent need to do?
So it all depends on what actually is happening. If you have a child, I'll give you an example. I had a case where a little boy, he was 6 years old, and a school employee picked him. He was I think he was called he might have been the advisor, the student advisor. He picked the little boy up and slammed him down to the ground. Now, what did the 6-year-old do?
It's that bad.
That was that bad.
Right.
That warranted that reaction. I say nothing. So the parents called me, and we handled it.
Okay.
Had another situation where a little boy, he was standing at the door, and the teacher just accidentally slammed the door.
Oh, wow.
And he had injuries to his fingers. And when you saw these, it was so sad to see this little baby. He had to be like 5 years old, and his fingers looked horrible.
But if the teacher said it was an accident, it still has to be something legally done by that, because the parents choose to take legal action?
Right. It's still called negligence. It's called gross negligence. So yes, there's something that can be done if your child has been injured. Now they've got situations where I've heard of where their school was on notice and there were two students not getting along, and to the point where a PPO had to be issued for the other student. Ultimately, the school was on notice. The school refused to do anything. They didn't want to do anything to the aggressor, right? That's that child they did nothing to. And then the other child ended up having to leave the school. Now, where do we live, in what society, where the person who is the bully gets to stay,
right,
and the person who's pretty much the victim has to leave?
But wouldn't it be, not to say that it would be fair, but shouldn't both children be removed from the facility of that school if necessary? Or should it be where the parents have to meet and the children have to meet to find out what is the real problem? I think 'cause sometimes children as well as adults don't like each other visually. You know, oh, I don't like your hair. Oh, I don't like your shoes. Oh, I don't like your braces on your teeth. Oh, your eyes. It's always could be something that's more in the physical sense that makes you not like a person. Even it could be a body odor conscious. You wear too much perfume. Oh, you're musty. Any of those things. But is there a time where the parents and the school superintendents and them should bring the children together so we can talk about and see, is it a real underlying issue?
Well, I think that's where we have steps. So the first step would be what? Your child comes and tells you, informs you. Or you notice something different about your child. You notice that, wait a minute, your grades are slipping. What's going on? Nothing. Oh, there's something. What happened? Either you're not studying, you're not concentrating, what's going on? Or you talk to the teacher, you participate, you talk to the teacher, and the teacher tells you, there's something going on with these two students. We could try to separate them, it's not working. Or somehow you get notified. And then as a parent, you really need to document. You really need to document. You need to document when you go talk to the school administrators. Find out, hey, this is on this day I came, I expressed my concern. This is what we said we were going to do. On this day, we all met as a group. This behavior continued. What do we need to do? But it's about documenting.
So a paper chase is always good.
Oh, it's always good.
Right.
Document.
Right.
And especially if you come see me, then I can read your list. And I say, oh, okay. All right. On this day, and you need that.
Right. And a lot of people, you know, I always tell people, when you have to write a letter of any kind to state your situation, you may not be the best writer, you may not be the best speller, but if you got it down on paper any way you can, then it stands up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know?
And then I also want to say that I also represent employees that have been wrongfully accused, right, of harming, injuring a child. So it doesn't, you know, because there can be two victims going on here.
Right.
It's not just one, it can be two.
Right.
If somebody's been wrongfully accused of that as well.
But a lot of the schools don't do, I shouldn't say don't, but do you see within the school system that they have anger management courses or something for the teachers themselves, or is there such thing?
Well, you know, there was an example in Celine. Remember, Celine, the one man said, oh, go back to the parent was complaining about his child being bullied, and the one parent said, well, why don't you just go back to Mexico? He said, it was in Celine, right? Then all of a sudden they started doing these programs for inclusion, diversity.
Right.
They started to do that. Now, you would think in a person's training, in their education, somehow there would have been some type of psychology class that would address on how to get along with others, how to address, how to recognize what to do.
Right.
Do they have these classes? I don't know. Sometimes things don't get done until there's an issue, until it's brought to the forefront, and then at that point, well, let's bring in some consultants.
Right.
So, you know,
you spend money now, folks.
Right.
Spend money now. Well, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with some more good information about school injuries. We'll be right back.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
And welcome back to the second half of the show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you just not joined us, we have attorney Dionne Webster-Cox with us today, and we're talking about school injuries and bullying in the school systems. So ideally, if you have a question for Attorney Cox or any of our guests, what do I always say? 1-800-323-5336, 1-800-323-5336, and of course, we'll get the questions over to her, okay? And any of the other guests that you've seen in the past. And I always tell you, you can email me a question, Marsha at Just Ask Talk Show, Twitter, Just Ask Talk Show. So don't be surprised. You can always contact me, and I enjoy hearing from you. Now, I had to get that out because a lot of people, when they see a show, they want to know, is it real? Can I really call? Can I really get my question over to the guest? And yes, they can. So I wanted to go back to some of the things about school injuries. Now, a lot of times, and I just want to know if you can answer this or not, the administration, school administration, a lot of stuff that goes on in the school is not always publicized. Only if it's real, say, noticeable, you know, parent call and say, my child was left on the bus, or my child sustained an injury during a school activity, because the parents is not getting any resources or support that they think they need from the administration. What's your take on the school administration?
Well, a lot of times what happens with the schools, they have to hold certain statistics, right? And that's all reported to the state. And you can go out to certain schools have website. They have a website. Every school has a website, and on that website they'll say, "Oh, we only had so many suspensions. We only had so many expulsions. It was for this reason. It was for that reason." Mm-hmm. Well, they also have alternative ways of, really called alternative dispute resolution, right?
Okay.
And that's where you may have a situation happening with children that's not being reported because they want to handle it. They don't want to have to report it to say, "Oh, this person was suspended." We had, maybe 10 incidents happen, but maybe only 5 get reported because they were that serious. The other ones aren't. They feel like, hey, we can just take it through this alternative route, and they don't get reported.
Okay.
So that goes to everything is not really reported because they're trying to keep the numbers down low.
Well, I'm about to say, it's like downplaying the situation.
Exactly.
Because they're going to, at the end of the year, what is it, like a board or something that finds out what the school activity was, or how many, like you said, suspensions, how many accidents. So the school actually has to report, have to have a status report.
They do.
Okay.
And they provide those statistics. But who looks at those statistics? Parents. Right? Mm-hmm. I don't want my child going to a school and there's, people are being suspended for drugs, they're being suspended for fighting, and all this is going on.
Okay.
And what if I'm a parent and I see this and I don't take my child there? That's money that school's not going to receive.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a bigger issue going on. So you may have a school that on paper looks perfect. Well, not quite perfect, but it looks like, okay, a low amount of incidents occur.
Right.
However, in reality, because they have some alternative dispute resolution happening, the people that probably should be getting suspended aren't.
Okay.
They aren't having, because that administrator does not want those numbers to be reported.
But if a parent, especially a parent with a special needs child, I'm always concerned about how special needs children are blended in with children with non-disabilities. Is it the parent's right to go to the administration and say, well, even though my son is in a wheelchair, I would like for him to be in these classes here, and perhaps make himself known to the class so that the children won't be intimidated by the child with a disability?
So what they have,
okay,
and what they can do is they have kind of sort of your general population, and then they've got a population for the children with special needs. Now, a lot of times what happens is that they prepare an IEP, right? That's the individualized assessment for that child, where they talk about their strengths, weaknesses, and how to handle what to do in certain situations, what accommodations should be made. So I think once that plan is made, that plan would detail how this child would be integrated into the population. And but if the child's not ready, the child's just not ready.
But you know what, my thing is that in order for a better world, so to speak, if a child is born with a disability and he or she is capable of going to school, be a part of a school system, then it is the parent's job to introduce their child to the school, and it is up to the child, if he or she is verbal, to allow the other kids to get to know them, to say, you can play with me, you can communicate with me. And children should be allowed to ask the disabled child, tell me about yourself. Does it hurt? Or, can I touch you? Or, can I help you with your wheelchair? Because where we start at with children helps determine as adults if we're comfortable with working with persons with disabilities, as well as communicating. And that's where the error comes in at. We grow up saying don't ask, don't do that, that's embarrassing. We don't know because we don't know better.
Well, what you touched on was very important, and that's where I wanted to go with it. It starts at home. It starts with the parents. That's that first part of socialization. So if you have a child with special needs and you don't take the child out to a restaurant, how will they know how to act in public?
Right.
If you don't put them in activities with other children, how will they know? How will they learn? So they once they get to school. So that's critical. But it starts with the parent. I always say that. To me, it's not really I don't really blame it on the teacher. It's not the teacher's responsibility. It's my responsibility. If I see something that's not happening, then it's for me to subsidize, get either a tutor. It's for me to get what my child needs in order to get my child where I want my child to be or where I think my child should be.
Now, is the school system in acceptance of the EpiPen now? Is all schools accepting the fact that you have children have allergies and there should be an EpiPen? If a parent has that, you know, is it part of the regulation, or it has to be is it not a requirement?
Well, you know, what happens is that when you first started a school, you are required to fill out an emergency form.
Yes.
Right? And that emergency form says who's their emergency contact, does your child have any allergies, if there are any medications, can we administer the medications?
Right.
So that goes for a child who needs, if there's some type of, if there's a need for EpiPen or if there's a need for insulin. A lot of children have childhood diabetes,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And they need to get their insulin during the day. And the schools are able to administer that. So with respect to, is it something, if that's what that child needs, it is available.
Because they don't have nurses in the school systems no more, do they?
They do. They absolutely do.
Well, you know, I'm old now. I don't know. I remember seeing a nurse. Okay, okay. But I didn't know if this, you know, if that was still part of the staffing, because a lot of things that's going on with kids now between, you know, nut allergies, asthma, you know, the average disabilities that come through, MS, low vision, hearing impairment. Some of those things that parents can relate to at home and still blend their children in. But when it comes to the EpiPen situation, or even the, what is that when they go swimming if they have a heart condition and they want to resuscitate the child, they have some type of device. And they're trying to train people to be able to use these devices, but all schools don't have them. See, my thing is, whatever is good at one school should be good at all schools. I don't understand how we don't have things across the board. If you got new books here, you're supposed to have new books there. If you got computers here, you're supposed to have computers there. But we're not saying that the school systems are not trying, but it just doesn't seem like everything is equal.
Okay. That's exactly right. They're not equal.
Okay.
So you do have certain school systems that have more resources, and they're able to provide more for the children, right? And then you would hope that some of this lottery money that they speak of, while people who play the lottery and what they say it goes towards education, you would hope it does do that. But no, there are certain school districts that are just lacking. They don't have the resources that others do, and unfortunately that does impact the child's growth and possibly socialization as well. So it's something that it's an issue. It really is an issue.
It is. It is. And I just wonder, you know, if it's okay. And I know that, you know, by the time this show airs, the school administration were like, I know she didn't ask that, but I think that in some schools, and maybe all schools, there should be a information box for kids. I'm getting bullied and I don't want to say anything to my parents. And I think that the schools would be beneficial if they had a box where the kid can put in a note, you know, and say, I'm uncomfortable. You know, I need to talk to somebody. And just give a chance to let the child be heard, because sometimes the parents don't catch it.
And that's awful if they don't catch it, okay? So I look at myself as a parent who really pays attention as to what's going on with my child. So when you say that, it's like, why isn't this parent not paying attention to their child? But I guess it does happen. You know, a lot of schools have an anti-bullying campaign happening where they've got posters all over the school saying bullying is not cool. If you report it, this is a peaceful school. This is they're doing a lot of things. They're doing a lot of things with visualization.
Yes.
So they see it on the wall, and hopefully the kids will internalize it, and it'll change some type of behaviors. But with respect to a box, I think that's wonderful. Any way that a person can feel like they can express themselves and can be heard. That's what a lot of times people want. Children want. They just want to be heard.
Just want to be heard.
And they unfortunately don't always want to tell their parents, I guess. But if there is a place where they can actually express themselves, I think that's a great idea.
Bet you that box come out by the time this show airs.
I bet you it does.
Okay. We'll be right back with the last half of the show. We'll be right back.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving.
And welcome back to the last half of the show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, some of you parents out there know you got some questions for our guest, Ms. Webster-Cox. And if not her, then there's somebody else you might be interested in. But always remember, 1-800-323-5336, Twitter, Just Ask Talk Show, or email me, Marsha at Just Ask Talk Show. Now, a lot of times when it comes to these conversations, such as school injuries and bullying, we kind of look at it as, is it the school's fault? Is it the child's fault? Is it the parents' fault? What do we do here? Well, it's 3 or 4 people's role, so it's no one person. And of course, we never want to say it's the child's fault, but we do want to learn how to investigate it. And usually, as parents, we need to start at home, not scalding the children or everything, but get to the bottom. If you see your children not eating, you see your children's grades slacking, you still see your children sleeping more, not talking and communicating with the rest of the family, that's a sign that something's going on. And you may have to go all the way back to the beginning and find out, is it at home, or is it at school, or is it at play? Now, by the time you get a chance to see an attorney like Ms. Webster-Cox, it means that something serious is going on. And if not, you still want to see to make sure that there is nothing going on. So at any point in time, parents, if your child is doing any of those things and you feel like there's a concern, you have the right to seek legal counsel, and you have the right to definitely go to the Board of Education and speak your piece. But like Ms. Cox said, always document everything. Don't go empty-handed. If you had to record it on your phone or whatever, you got to have some documentation to show when you went somewhere, who you spoke to, and the date of incident. Now, I just wanted to make that clear to our viewers, because a lot of the parents always look at it like, well, it was last Friday or last month. We don't want to go by last Friday, last month. Have your dates and times and incidents all down in writing. Then we got a paper trail. We got something we can relate to.
Absolutely.
Okay? You can't just fly off the handle and not be sure what you're flying off the handle about. Okay?
That's absolutely
right. It's just unheard of. But parents do it all the time. I got to miss work to go to school for you, or they called me off my job about you. But certain things you're called off for are serious.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You miss a day of work, it's serious.
Oh,
okay.
absolutely.
And if it's consistent, then that means that we're going to need some counseling.
We're going to need something.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We got to take some steps to get to the bottom of whatever is happening. And it's very important to document, because believe it or not, that's probably going to be in the complaint. If it ever comes to a complaint, it will be in the complaint as to, on this date, this happened.
Right.
On this date, this happened. Because what we're trying to show is a pattern of either the school not paying attention, the administrator's not paying attention, or this other individual, this other student was doing this to my child. There's a pattern, and somebody didn't take action, didn't take the appropriate action.
Right.
So that's absolutely key. And then some of it, we just need to know, and I know I said it earlier, some of it we just need to be able to be able to differentiate whether or not, is it just kids
Being kids.
being kids, or is it truly some type of abuse happening
Right,
here,
right.
some type of negligence happening here,
Right.
some type of malfeasance, and that's when we get in trouble. I mean, that's when we get involved. That's when I get involved. But a lot of times you just don't know, and that's where a person can come and talk to me, and I have no problem. I'll say, no, that's not it. That doesn't.
Right.
That doesn't.
Let's break it down.
Right. That does
Right.
not.
I mean,
that's
because
not
anytime
enough.
you see children on, say, Facebook or GoFundMe accounts, and kids crying and saying, "I just want to, grow up and be, who I want to be," and this and that. To me, that's a parent behind that.
Right.
Okay. So, but when you document something like that, or you showcase an incident like that, you have already set that child up. Okay, the child's already emotional. That child will stay on the emotional roller coaster, because why? Now you've got me on videotape crying that something's wrong. When did you go to the school? When did you bring this issue to the attention of the administration and things like that before you had your child on video?
Right. Oh,
Okay.
that's that type of exploitation. I don't really appreciate it. And are you talking about the little, the dwarf, the child who was just on Facebook, the mother? I think they ended up raising about $500,000 for him.
No, I didn't see that one.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
That one's out
Missed
there.
that one. And we were using Facebook for everything, but
Right.
it doesn't matter to me, that, we use Facebook to get a message across, but I just want to make sure that the child is protected, him or her when parents say, well, you can tape this. You know, how does a child know how to use the phone that well, what they do, that they can tape an incident? You know, I'm crying, I'm upset, and I want the world to know it doesn't have to be this way, you know.
Yeah, I know.
But we have it all the time.
We do, we do. See, a lot of times in those schools, the phones, the kids aren't allowed to use their phones, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the lower grades, they're not allowed. And even because it can be a distraction. A lot of times, what they're doing is, for the most part, maybe doing a TikTok or texting each other, and that may be some bullying going on there, right? Somebody likes my boyfriend, you are supposed to, you know, just some really childish things, but it happens, right? That's all part of the socialization and
you know, it may be a part of socialization, but nowadays everything is so serious and can be taken out of context. You know, I mean, anytime kids are videotaping a fight, I'm like, did any of you kids call for authority? Did any of you kids call the police or get a school administration? But you videotaping the fight, so you got proof that there was a bad fight. But you didn't stop it, of course, and I'm not asking you to do that, but I am asking you to take a moment out and help save somebody's life by stopping. You know, if you can get another kid to call 911 or whatever while you're taping that. Do something.
And you would think they would do that, but I'll tell you one thing, taping that fight is evidence.
It is.
It is absolutely evidence.
But adults don't do it. Yeah, adults don't do it either. You know, well, I got to tape this. But somebody's getting the crap beat out of them at the same time. Can you not call 911 while your phone is I don't know. I never had a chance to do that. But I would think for me, I probably had to stop recording and call 911.
And great, because you see another human being being injured, being brutalized right there in front of you. And sometimes maybe we've become so desensitized that it's more exciting to watch it and capture it and be able to post it out than to help that person who's in need.
But
which is sad.
But always know that, you know, children's behavior starts at home. So if you got a parent that's a bully, you're going to be a bully 9 times out of 10. And I know people are going to say, no, it's not true. Yes, it is. Okay. And the proof of the pudding is we got a president that's a bully. Seriously, we got a president that's a bully. There's no getting around it. So to me, that doesn't do nothing but confirm it that, you know, he doesn't back down. You don't have to back down. We don't have to back down. That's not good. That's not good politics. That's not good things to have your children be involved in either. Our children are supposed to be the next generation of presidents, of councilmen, of health professionals. And it just has to stop somewhere.
It absolutely has to stop somewhere, but I'll tell you, at times, you need a person who's aggressive. At times, you need a person who's assertive. I mean, everybody just can't fall in line, because somebody had to stand up and say, no, this isn't right. That's what part of the reason why we have a legal system, because somebody said, no, this is not right.
Yeah, but it's a difference between aggressive and bullying, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
And there are consequences. You know?
There are.
There are absolute consequences. So.
Luckily. Okay. So, because everybody who stands up got to fall sooner or later. So, you know, if something happens, it's got to be somebody that you're, you know, accountable to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But you said it right. It starts at home. So a parent should be able to recognize the change in behavior, a change. If you're paying attention, and listen to your child, because they may want to start to tell you something, and if you cut them off, you know, then you don't get it out, right? And the parent is that first. That's your first. That's your safety. That's where you're supposed to feel. This is who I can go to. This is who I trust. This is who I know has my back. This is going to protect. This is the person who's going to protect me. Be that parent.
Okay.
And that parent has to stand up and say, "Oh no, this will not happen. This will not. We will not. I will not allow you to do this to my child."
Okay. Well, I tell you what, Attorney Cox, will you come back and see us again?
I can do that.
Okay. And so by that time, I bet you that box be in schools, okay?
I think so.
Okay, that information box, okay? But thank you so much. We look forward to having you come again.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know who I am. I'm your host, Marsha Florence, for Just As. And just like I said, always give us a call, 1-800-323, Twitter, Just As Talk Show, or email me, Marsha@JustAsTalkShow. So what do I always say? If you know a person with a disability, or if you just have a general question, don't be afraid to ask. Just ask. I'm your host. Thank you. Take the action shot. I saw you flinching.